Thank you for coming. So I think things shaping up on your in your way to be experts in Python. I'm sure you have written lots of code and maybe that a lot that you have to write much more code to be expert. All right, so last week we spoke about network programming. Today we'll talk about a little bit also web programming, web clients and servers. And I was planning next week to talk about machine learning using Python, pandas, and all of that. But I had a request from some of the students. They need us to talk about Django. Okay, Django. So next week we'll talk about Django a little bit. All right. Again, when you talk about Django is a framework, right? It's a huge framework. So you might need, need a month, okay, to learn how to use Django. So in here we could introduce you to Django, give you enough information to start what's in your hand to learn more and more. Okay, same thing with the pandas. If you get anything for a panda or a manual, it's that thick, right? So in here we'll introduce you to pandas. So it becomes like the sub-language of the language. So, okay, and so on and so forth, right? So it all depends on you, how much you need to spend and how much you need to learn and what kind of application, right? So the nice thing, the most promising thing is there is a lot of tutorials on YouTube, on the internet that you could learn from it. So pick one of them, actually from the official pages. Okay, official page. So next week, for example, I was planning to create PowerPoint presentations to talk about Django, but after I went through tutorials provided from the official website of Django, I don't need to do that. Just I have to go. That's what I will do with you. So next week, try to bring your laptops. We could do it together. Bring your laptop, okay, with you. Just make sure you download the Django, okay, install it, okay, and we're going to try it. So once you have the basics, okay, so there is two kinds of basics that you need to know. All right, two kinds of basics. The first one is the logic for programming, right? The logic, the algorithms. And this does not come from this class. This comes from your original classes that you took CS101, then data structure CS102, then object-oriented programming, and then algorithms. This logic. Logic does not come from one course. It does not come over one semester. It comes over multiple classes that you have to go and to build the logic, right? So in here, we will not teach you logic in this class. That's the first basic that you have. And this basic is really advanced, okay? To understand algorithms and, how to build a logic when somebody give you a problem to solve. Regardless of the language, you have to have a logic how to solve it, right? You have to understand the basics of programming. That's the first basic, which is not basic, this is advanced. The second basic that you need to know is language basics, right? So you're talking about C++. You have to know the for loop, the while loop, the exceptions, how you create the classes, how you inherit the classes, right? The language. So that's what we were teaching you here, all right? So, and this is called the basics of the language, all right? So you have the basics of the logic, and this will develop over time with the language that you're learning in here, okay? Number 3 will come the specialized packages. Specialized packages. So for example, to use Django, what do you need to know? You need to have
HTML, CSS.
You need to know basic of HTML, maybe JavaScripts. You need to know different tools, okay? You need to know Python, because you're going to write some application with Python. Maybe you need to have CGI, all right? So to be able to use Django, you have to have a little bit background. What if you don't? What if you don't? Okay, is it tough to learn? It's not. The hardest part of it is time. You have to spend time, all right? But all the sources and resources are available there. Okay? I'm not sure, I forgot who's one of the students, so maybe Shashank, my graduate assistant, mentioned that in the interviews, he or somebody else went to interviews, and they ask really deep questions in the interviews, all right? Deep questions, all right? And the homework we give you in this class is no close to the kind of questions you receive in interviews. Actually, interviews nowadays, they ask you to write a code. So the questions we give you in the homework, you think they are tough, time-consuming, and so on forth, they are not compared to the interviews. They just prepare you there, all right? I was thinking also next semester, just idea somebody put it in my mind, is to try to look at the questions as an interviews and make it like assignment also, optional homework for the students to get it trained. Anyways, so again, you have learned a lot, but still a lot of things you need to learn. Again, if somebody, let me say that one more time, if you think that your logic is weak, you're gonna have a long break, 1 month between the 2 semesters. Just pick a book, grab a website, a blog, and learn. Learn, all right? The best way to learn a human language is to
Practice.
speak it, right? To speak it. The best way to be professional in one language is to code. To code. So stop reading journals about coding. Just have a problem. Grab a problem. Okay? Whether you have the solution for it or not, and try to write it by yourself. Spend 1 day, 2 days, try to solve it, and then if you're successful, have a party, invite me, I'll come, all right? Invite anyone you like, okay, for the party. If you don't, try to look it up, the solution for it, and learn from it, all right? So better than reading 200 pages in programming, I have to emphasize that, is to write one code. Spend and write one code, all right? I hope that is clear. So, going forth, I think we have 2 more lectures. Today we'll cover a little bit about CGI and web clients. And I meant to make it basic for those who don't have background. And then next week we'll talk about Django. Any questions? Yes.
And you put some guidelines for the final exam?
Guideline for the final exam? Sure, it will be exactly like the midterm. How is that? Alright? You'll have, you'll have a lot, well, I mean, it includes everything we have covered. Okay, it's a final. And it will have a multiple choice of questions, about 70%, and 30% writing a code. And the multiple choice are very involving, so you'll have a code about exactly like the midterm. Alright? So it needs to have a deep understanding of what it is.
And also, how deep will it be on the server client data class? Because you just work on something.
They give you homework. If you do the homework, it'll be okay.
Right,
Yeah.
that level.
Yeah, so it should be okay. Again, I mean, if you look about the questions, it does not depend on the memory that you have to know. Even for your writing the code, even if I did not pay attention too much about the accuracy of the sentences you write, more than logic. I have to be reasonable too. Alright, so it's like deep understanding, and believe me, I mean, there is students who almost had perfect score. When I went back to their assignments, they did perfect assignments. Alright, so you do the assignments by yourself, you'll learn a lot. You're trying to copy from here, get the help. And again, as I told you, I was very honest with you, I'm very open. I said, myself, maybe if you are giving an assignment or a project to write, I'll try to learn from other experiences, right? Maybe that's what you're doing, but you should not do it yourself. You are here to learn, not a project. When you are given a project to submit it, all right, you need to just have the project done, right? One way or another. But you are here to learn the language. So you should depend on yourself 100% in writing the code. Unless you're stuck somewhere, then you borrow something, right? So students who are doing the homework by themselves, and believe me, the homework are very well designed. They try to make you, learn different aspects. Anyways, all right. So let's go quickly over this. I hope for the first time we have shorter class today. If we can have shorter class, that will be good. Every time I promise that never happens. All right. So we're gonna talk. Let me please. Oh, let me just dim the lights a little bit. Too much? I think that's okay, right? I think it's okay. Whatever I'm doing is wrong. Alright, so if you are computer science, I'm sure that you have programmed before, but we'll talk a little bit about the Python web client tools, what is web client, web servers, and related modules. All right. So last week we spoke about the client-server model, right? So we said most of the applications that we have is like client, server. Okay, so you have like a server, okay, and you have clients, client 1, client 2, client 3, right? So the server will be listening for the requests from the client. Right? Once it receives the request, it will entertain it with the required data, right? So many examples for that, right? Many examples for a client-server application. One of them is the web servers, the printer servers, okay? The DNS server, the regular Windows servers, right? All of those are client-server applications. All right. So the web clients like browsers that were used to display the HTML code that we try to get from the servers. And the servers process the requests coming from the client. So when you go to your Google Chrome or you go to Explorer and try to write, for example, HTTP, whatever, //CNN.com. So you are a client, okay, you send a request, okay, the request goes to the server will send you that page. So that's a typical example for a client-server application. So these servers wait for clients, when the request comes, we'll send it out. So as you see in here, okay, server, client, and both are connected to the internet. Okay, so all the communication happen over the internet. Okay. So HTTP, all of you have used HTTP, heard about HTTP, which is the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Okay, this language is spoken by the web clients and the servers, by the web client and the servers. HTTP is written in top of TCP and IP protocol. So, which level? If you remember that we have the 5 levels of the network, you know, the physical layer, then the data link layer, network transport, and then the application. So HTTP is in the application level of the communication. So HTTP is responsible for sending the request and receiving the data. All right, HTTP is stateless protocol. It's a stateless protocol. That means does not keep or store information. It's stateless. So protocols usually stateless and stateful. Okay. The servers always stay running and are waiting for clients to send a request. The client interacts with the regular events and the communication will end once the transmission has happened. So the client sends the request. Once the request is responded by the server, communication ended. For the next request, another establishment for the connection has to happen. All right. Okay. So usually it's stateless. There is something called cookies. Anybody know what is cookies? Of course, you know cookies, right? All right. Which is static data stored in your. So nowadays, for example, when you try to shop in Amazon, all right, the Amazon try to write some cookies, some information to your desktop browser, and next time it will suggest things for you, right? All right. So this is what they call them cookies. So there is long URLs, which we'll show you in a second. There is cookies that maintain state information. So HTTP by itself is stateless, does not save information. History does not save history, and the cookies it's a static data. All right. Do I have to talk about internet? I don't have to talk about internet. Okay, it's in the cloud, and the most important thing is that we need to have secure communication. There is different techniques for secure communication or protocols such as SSL. Secure circuit layer, where the communication needs to be encrypted. That's why we have HTTP, which is like plain transmission of data, and we have HTTPS, right, which is secure, using secure socket layer. So that's what the communication, as you see in here. Anyways. All right, the network usually also you have to pay attention that always could have firewalls and something else called proxy servers. So everybody knows what firewalls for, right? Firewalls is to allow data in or not to allow, right? So it helps to fight against unauthorized access, okay, to the home or to the covert network or to whatever. Right? So we configure it in a certain way, it allows certain access for the data. There is something called proxy servers, okay? They could work alongside the firewall or separated from the firewall, but they are not a firewall, all right? So proxy servers is, there is forward proxy servers, they could be, okay, forward proxy servers, and this is used for cache. So when you have, for example, a server, let's say CNN.com is a server, HTTP server, right? All right, so if we have like thousands of hits to that server at the same time requesting data, what will happen to the server? Would be slow, would be sluggish, will go down, right? Because it cannot entertain that much of communications. So we could have a proxy servers where it could cache the requests, right? So one form of it, for example, let's say that we have the server, this is the server, right? Server, right? And this is in one network, all right? And you have, like, for example, proxy server in here, and you have multiple clients, all right? So the first request for the data, okay, from the server, it's gonna go directly to where? To the server, because the data is not there. Then the data, when it goes to the client, it goes from the server to the client through the proxy server, right? So next time the same request was requested, it does not need to go all the way to the server. It checks first with the proxy. If the proxy has it, we'll send it back to the client. If not, it's gonna go to the server. So it's like caching. It cached the data. So instead of the data to be transferred all over the world to come from the server, you could have proxy server in your network where it could cache the data. Make sense?
What is called this edge locations?
Hmm?
Edge locations.
It's a proxy server, forward the proxy server. Okay? It's like for caching the communication happening with the outside. All right? Anyways. So the clients and the servers could be co-located, co-location of the server placement. So company servers reside at the ISP, Internet Service Providers, okay, along with computers from other corporate customers. So, anyways, so this is a okay. Okay, so now we'll talk about the web clients. So a browser is only one type of a client. Browser is only one type of a client. Also, the application that makes request to the data from the web server is considered a client. So in Python, okay, when you write a code Python, okay, and your program, try to access the server, not through a browser, through the program, okay? So there is modules are given by Python that you could use, okay? One of them URL lib module, okay? And this will allow you to provide you a valid access to the server. Before we move forward, you have to understand the structure of the URL, Uniform Resource Locator. So you used to locate the document in the web or the CGI program, all right? So usually it starts with the protocol, schedule, okay, then the location, then the path, then parameters separated. All right, maybe an example will make it clear. So the first one is the network protocol or download key. So that could be HTTP, HTTPS, FTP, could be the protocol, right? Then after that, what you're gonna have, after the protocol, you're gonna have the colon and the forward slash, right? The second one is the net. This is the first one. The second one is the network or the location of the server. Okay. It could be an IP address, right? It could be an IP address, could be a DNS name, all right? Then after that, we're gonna have the path in that server. The path, after the slash, the path, or it could be the CGI application. And then you have the optional parameters, and then the query separated by ampersand, and key value pairs. And you could fragment, you could have fragment to a specific anchor within document. You know what's anchor? Sometimes when you hit the link, you don't go for a different page, you go to the same page but somewhere down, anchor, right? Okay. So that's usually the shape of the URL. Okay, it has the protocol, the address, then the path, and you have parameters, key value parameters. And you could have the fragment at the end. Why you need to know that? Because you're gonna use them in your library. So, you know, I mean, in your calls, when you call when you use the module, Python module. Okay. So the net location can be broken down into several more components. Okay, what are the several more components? Okay, if it's a secure web page, what we're gonna have? User and password. And then you have what? The host or the IP address, and then you have the port. 4 things. Okay? So usually, what is the minimum you should have?
The IP address and
The IP address, that's the minimum. The port is, if you have the default, what is the default? 80, you don't have to include it, right? But if you have different port, like 80, you have to include it. And if it's a secure page, what you have to have also the user and the password. So minimum 1 and the total of 4. Clear? Okay? Most of us don't know that because what we'll do, HTTP : for example, IP address or CNN.com. CNN.com is what? Is a DNS name. Okay? Over the communication will be changed to what? Address, IP address of the. Okay, what's the port address? 80. We did not put it because it's the default. You sure that I'm making sense? Okay. So, so when I say, for example, HTTP CNN.com. Okay. So this is what is this? This is the DNS name to be converted to IP address of that server. All right. Do we have the port? Yes, but it's by default, it's 80. So that's what we don't have. Do we have a user and password? Maybe not in here, because this is not a secure page. But let's say that you are accessing, for example, your Canvas application. Okay, your Canvas application, or your bank account, all right? So you could directly put the user and the password and, or you could fill in the blanks there, right? So these are for the network, right? All right. So that's basically in here, the user, the password, and the host port, right? So the username, password, host, and the port. Okay. So Python modules dealing with URLs, right? I mean, what you are trying to use Python to access a server now. We're not using a client, we're not using a browser, using a program, okay? To get data from a server, all right? So you're writing the client, your program is the client. So, completely different functionality and capabilities. So you have URL lib parse and URL lib. Okay, there's libraries that you have to include. So URL lib parse, what does parse do? What does URL lib parse module do? First of all, this is the documentation. There's a lot of things you could learn about it. You could try to go there. But it provides the following functions: URL parse, URLM parse, and URL join. You could join 2 parts of that URL. All right? Maybe if we take an example. So anyways, here the structure of it, how you do it, URL parse, let's take one of them. It parses URL string into separate components using the protocol and this thing is to go to the example. All right. So URL parse breaks up the URL string into some of the major components described earlier. What are the major components? The protocol, the path, the fragment, the key value, right? All right. So, for example, if this is the syntax in here, that's the syntax. All right. So when you are given a URL, you need to parse it. So you're gonna put the string here. The string. What's the string? http://cnn.com. That's a string, right? That's the URL. Then you have to divide it into components, right? Components. All right. So it will return how many? It will return a tuple with 6 elements. Tuple with 6 elements. Tuple. Okay. So the first element of the tuple is the port, is the protocol. The second one is the network location, then the path, then the parameters, then the query, then the flag. So usually any URL has how many parts? 6 parts. All right. You pass it to this function. It will divide it into tuple. Okay, 6 element tuple. All right. So the first the def port schedule specifies the default network protocol or download scheme in case one is not provided in the URL string. All right, so it's an optional. It's optional. That's why it's none. All right, and allow fragmentation if the flag that signals whether the fragment part of the URL is allowed. Anyways. So that's the function that when you are given URL, you will divide it into 6 parts. All right. Take example in here. This is an example. So when I'm calling the URL parse function, and I'm giving HTTP www.python.org/doc/whatever faq.html. So it will do. So the first thing, it will be the protocol HTTP. Then it will has the path, the site, the address. Then it will give you here the path. Okay, the path. And this is our empty because there is no fragmentation and there is no key value. All right. So that is URL parse. There's another function, unparse, okay, to merge the 6 tuple into a URL. So if you pass the protocol, the address, the path, etc., it will join them. So basically, the unparse will reverse the parse and will give you the URL string. Clear? There's 2 functions so far. The third one is to join. So there is 2 parts of the URL, you join them, right? Maybe we'll take a code in a second to show how can you use it. So, okay, the URL join function is useful in case for which many related URL are needed. One of the applications, for example, for search, for searching like the web pages. So for example, you're trying to look for all the sub-web pages of CNN.com. All right? All right? Collect all the data, like the searches and all of that, like what Google does, right? So in your code, what you'll take the original part and try to join to it the second part, right? Okay. Maybe we'll take example in a second. So URL join takes base URL and join it its base path. Here is example. So for example, okay, URL parse join. I'm joining in here this part, okay, with this part. So it takes the base of that part, which is www.python.org doc, okay, and we'll join it with the other sub path, with the other sub path, maybe. Okay, so here, for example, this is the original URL, www.python.org doc, FAQ.html. So where is the base of this one? Up to here, right? So I'm taking that out and I'm joining it with the current lib.lib.html. So that's what happened. Remove the last part in here and this one in here. Current.lib.html. So I'm joining two strings to make a different URL. Okay, different URL. So the URL module provides high-level web communication library supporting the basic web protocols like HTTP, FTP, etc. All right. In Python, 3 pieces of URL lib, urllib2, unified into urllib. So request module and URL bars turned into urllib bars. I mean, from Python 2 anyways. This is like a slide that I prepared when I was also introducing Python 2. All right. So in Python 3 package, okay, there is like 4 protocols. The first one in here, the request for opening and reading URLs. So you have a URL, okay, you open it, you try to get information or whatever in here. So for example, you have a program that is trying, for example, to get news about Trump visit to Paris. This, all right? All right? So you're not going manually to go from a website or something. No, your program. Okay, that's its job. Okay, to go from URL to URL and open it and then grab the information. What is inside the page, usually, in the web page, what you have inside it, any page, you have paragraphs. So you're gonna search for paragraphs, right? Okay, maybe we'll take an example from that. So request for opening and reading URLs. Then the error containing the exceptions raised by the request. Then we have the parse for parsing the URLs, and you have robot parser to parsing robots.txt file. We'll see that in a second. All right. But the most important one is the one. Okay, the first one, because you are requesting a URL and you're trying to read it. In simple words, let's say that you have, like, for example, www.project.edu/news. So what do you have in this page? UB News, right? Right? You need to write a code that reads the UB News from that page without you going to the page, getting the information. Okay, saving it, formatting it, and send it by email for all the students. Can you write a code like that? So your code has to request the data from that link. Read the data in, do whatever with it. Reformat it, restructure it, send it by email, save it, add it to a different web page, right? Right? Okay. So for example, let me give you an example. If you need to create like in UB, a page, local page for jobs. Let's say in Python. Shall I give it to you as an assignment for next week?
No, a lot of
All right. Okay. All right. All right. So it's like, jobs for Python. So usually what you do yourself. If you don't know programming, what do?
Google.
You Google. You're gonna give thousand links, right? You go through link, and you cut paste. You save it in there somewhere. You go to second, cut and paste, save it somewhere. Third one, cut and paste somewhere. You're creating your own data, right? How long is it gonna take you? Forever. How about you write code? Write a code. You code where you try to search. You give these links In your program, you open the link, you request the data from the link, and you search for certain paragraphs in that page, and you collect it somewhere, in a file, for example. All right? And it goes to the second link, it does the same thing. The third link, the same thing, automatically. All right? So what you are doing inside your program, you're requesting the data through this function. Can you do that? Okay? Can you do that? Of course you can. If you know how to write the code, you can, right? You can. All right. By the way, I know that you have a... Did you guys start working on the project?
Yeah, project, yes.
Huh? No, yes. I heard no and heard yes. I heard yes. Okay. All right. So let's stop assignments, okay, and work on the project.
Yeah, thank you.
All right? Okay.
Yeah, exactly, it's taking forever.
This you must do. Yes, but you're gonna start from today. There is no assignment today. Okay. So there is no assignment today and next week.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So work on your project. All right. All right. So believe me, I mean, you know, assignment is not to torture you. To make you work. Okay, I myself I can't even torture a mice or mouse, whatever. Yes.
I don't see any for kiwi.
Huh?
Kiwi, like kiwi. I cannot see.
It's another different folder.
Oh.
If you have an issue, send me. Okay. So again, believe me, the assignment is not to torture you; it's to make you work. All right? Okay. I know. But you know, as I said it from the first day.
It takes days.
It's a lot of programming. Okay?
It takes days.
So there is no more assignments. Are you happy?
Yeah.
Are you happy? Good. All right. When I give a lecture without an assignment, afterwards I feel I'm wasting my time. Okay, so you know. Anyways, so the request, you understand what we are trying to do in here. So we're trying to write a Python code, which is what? Like a client. Request the data from any URL. All right, and go to process. So
What is the data we're getting here?
any data. HTML, it's built of what? Header and paragraphs. You can search for the paragraph. Remember skill examples. All right. So so you are lib request. Okay. So you're trying to open. You open the URL. So you're gonna first thing pass the URL. Then data by default is none. Timeout. Whatever these are, you know, it could default to something. So the most important thing is to open the URL is the first part, which is the URL. Okay, the URL, and when it opens it, it will read the data, will save the data to the variable. So it will open the web connection to a given URL, okay, string, and return a file-like object. So when it opens the URL, it will return like a file-like object, okay? Usually for HTTP request, what we are using GET, right? GET or POST, right? So trying to, okay, get the data. If POST request method is desired, then the query could, you know, change one of the parameters and you could use POST. Get and POST are HTTP commands that, you know, this is like basics of HTTP. When a successful connection is made, your open returns a file-like object as if the destination was a file opened in a read mode. All right, it goes to the page, like, news page, and try to get all the data. It's like you are opening a file. All right. So when you open a file, what you do with it? Remember when we spoke about the files? Okay, what you do with the file? You read it, right? So when you save it, we save everything in Python as object, right? So in here, when you open the file, it will retrieve the data, will save it in object. This object like a file. It's not a file, like a file, right? So you could do, for example, read it, like let's say the object is f, the return object is f. You could use f.read to read the whole file, or f.read line to read it line by line, or read all the lines, and you could close it, and you could do whatever, or get information about it, right? So here are some of the functions we could do with the object returned from the URL open. Okay, again, you could read, the most common one, read line, etc. You could use any of these functions. Rather than opening the URL and letting you access it like a file, you could use URL retrieve. So directly it retrieves the data from the URL. Right? Okay, so there is also, we'll take an example in a second, the code, but these are visual code. There is something called parse quote and quote plus. So what this quote does? All right, the quote function takes the URL data and encode it so that it is fit in the URL string. Okay, so certain characters that are printable will be converted to a different. Let me take example. Can you see here? Okay, so for example, okay, look in there, name, for example, the variable called name, Joe Mama, and there is a number 6. So the base, another variable called space, HTTP, www, whatever until the end. You can see it, right? The base. All right, and there is a final, which has, percentile is question mark name. Remember that what we have key value, a key value in here in the file. So these are substituted in the base name and the number. So the base, okay, it's here. So in here, as you see in here, the base will go where? The first variable, right? Okay. The name will go the second variable as a string. The number will go a third variable as a digit, right? Simple Python, right? Right? All right. So the final will be substituted as the base. Where is the base? Here. The name, which is here, and the number which here gave you this value, right? When you do the substitution. Clear? Join them. Clear or not? I could go back. Clear? Okay, clear, right? Now, when I use URL lib quote final, what does it do? What does it do? It will replace all the special characters with their hexadecimal or their value. So for example, space in here, it was replaced with percentage 20. Okay? That's what is quote. Okay, what is a quote? Okay, because when you write the code, okay, you cannot have a space. You could have sometimes special characters, so it'll be converted into their equal hexadecimal values. That's what's quote. Okay, so you don't need a special character. You don't need a space. what you do, you replace them to their equivalent value. That's as simple as it is. All right?
So the code converted this to a valid URL,
Yes, the valid URL.
but then by all the percentage 3, we only needed, from the original thing, we only needed to change the percentage 20. We only needed to add.
No, the percentage 20 is for what? For the space,
For the space.
right?
What
And
about
this
the-
is, this for example, 3, I think is for the question mark.
But that shouldn't be displaced because that is, it's the correct way of writing. It's a parameter.
Which one?
We said the parameters separated by the question mark.
So in here, for example, www, then this one tilde, right?
In the first option.
Just a second. Okay, CGI, or, okay, S, then this, the question mark is,
It
to
should not.
percentage 3. Huh?
I'm saying it should not be replaced in a real URL.
Well, I mean, used for certain needs in that program, certain need program, right? So it was converted like that, right? And for the quote plus, I think the quote plus, it will convert the space to the plus sign, not to its value, to the plus sign. All right? So that's the whole idea in here. That's the whole idea here. Certain special characters that are unprintable or cannot be part of valid URLs, okay, to the web server must be converted, okay? So in here we converted everything unnecessarily, maybe you're right, but there are some unprintable characters. Let's say that you're using, for example, Unicode for different, huh?
The space was.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Anyways. This so this talks about web clients. Okay, that's what I need to focus on here. Okay, reading web pages using Python code. All right. So some websites do not appreciate programs accessing their data. Okay. So many websites, when you try to access from a program, it will reject you. One of them is Google. It will not allow you to write a program. So you have to fool it
Headings.
somewhere, right? Otherwise, you understand what will happen, right? Becomes like, so they may sometimes choose to block you out. Choose to block you out. All right, they will choose to block you out. All right, to overcome this with some simple code, you just need to modify the user agent. Every request goes from a client to the server. There is a user agent, right? The user agent will tell you what kind of browser and all of that. So if it's coming from Chrome, it will entertain you. If it's coming from, for example, another known browser, it will give you the data. But if it's coming from a Python code that you are writing, why you are requesting the data, right? It will reject you, not give you the information. Okay? So which is a variable within your header that you send in. Headers are bits of data that you share with the servers to let them know a bit about you. We can modify this and act as if we are, a loyal Internet Explorer or whatever, whatever. Okay, All right, so this is a simple example using your lib. So for example, so first of all, we have to import the library, right? We have to import the library. So your lib request, you import the library. And then after that, okay, your lib request URL open, that's the link. So I'm trying to go to Google, okay? If I do that program from my computer, what will happen? If I write this program, what will happen?
It won't read, it
It
will
will block you.
block you.
It will block you, okay? It will block you. So,
But if you try 2-3 times, it will block it. Try 2-3 times.
so So this is the code, okay. So I'm trying to parse a request. So URL, this is the URL, as you see in here, all right. And the values, Q equals Python programming tutorials, all right. So we encode the values in here. Then I'm requesting the data. All right, request, and then I'm trying to, and we saved it in response, that's the response, okay. Response data, I'm reading the data, then I'm printing the data. Let's run this. So in here, give 405, rejection. Rejected the request, right? So I think I have another code that I wrote where it tries to fool the program. Let's see what it is. So this is the code without modifying the header. Control A, Control. All right. So in here, that's the Google website I'm trying to access. All right. I'm opening I'm saving it to X. Okay, and then we said X, it will be like a file-like, right, object, right? So I'm opening it with write, trying to read it, all right, and try to get the information. So run, and I have to save first. All right, it gave you what? 403 forbidden. Why? Because you are using your program. It's not a known program for it, right? Clear? So in here, try, okay. Now in here what I did, you can see, right? With header modification before parsing the page. Okay, so let me select all of that. Copy. Control A, Control V. All right, so look what I did in here. I'm trying to, the headers, I'm trying to fool the Google. I'm telling them this is a Mozilla client. It's not, but I'm changing the header, right? So I'm trying to get the information. Let me run it. File, run the module. Okay. And it runs successfully, as you see here, runs successfully, and save the data for further processing in the response. All right. The only thing in here, what I did, let me repeat what I just said. Now you're writing a code trying to read the data from Google, from any CNN, from anywhere, right? Usually they expect the request to come from where? A valid client, okay? Like Chrome, for example, Explorer. If you write your own code and try to get the data, what they will do? They will reject you, will block you, okay? How can the server know you are a valid client? From the information provided in the header. So what you do, you go change the date in the request, you change the header information, you're gonna go to the server will think that you are a valid browser, will send you the data back. Will send you the data back. Alright? So that's what, anyways, the code is available for you, it's in here. By the way, I mean, maybe you noticed that I put the codes usually in here. So all you have to cut and paste and try it out. Cut and paste and try it out. Let me see if I provided anything else in here. Okay. In here I provided something. Do you know what's regular expression, right? Okay. Who does not? Who does not? Regular expression, isn't it? Do you know regular expression? Okay. Okay. Regular expression is it's used in many languages. Okay, it's the way you could access the text data in a text. All right. There is rules. So the first time I taught regular expression in Unix programming. All right. In Unix programming, for example. So for example, you know, and by the way, for regular expression, there is no eraser here. You could get a book that thick, just regular expression. Okay, rules. So for example, if you have a text, for example, this is a good class, whatever, right? And you need, okay, whatever, good class, but we have so much homework, right? So let's say that you have like 2,000 pages of text like that, and you need only to pick, you know, word that is 2 letters. How can you do that? You have to write the code using something called regular expression. It will help you to do that rules. All right? Or, for example, you need to look for all the lines that end with letter S. And you have like 10,000 lines. How are you gonna do that? Regular expression will do that for you. Okay? So anything comes to your mind that you need from that text, you know, regular expression will do for you. So it's like a language. It's a language by itself. Rules, okay? So for example, this in regular expression. For those who claim they know regular expression, shall I ask? Shall I point? Okay, what does this mean? Regular expression, this is what does it mean? Who said that you know regular expression? Nobody anymore? I think you said you know regular expression. No? Not anymore? How about you?
I've used it. I don't know what that character is though.
Okay, how about dollar sign?
$sign is for spaces.
Hmm?
Is it for spaces?
I don't know. It's for numbers.
That's why you guys hate quizzes, right? So caret means beginning of the line. Okay? So for example, if I say search for caret A, it will search for all the lines that start with a capital A. Right? Caret means beginning of the line. It's a language by itself. Dollar sign means what?
Money.
Huh?
Money.
True.
That's just the end of the line.
End of the line. So if the line I just wrote, what does it mean?
Starts in an
A line that it has only one letter, capital A. Because it means start with A
specific.
and ends with A. Alright? It's a whole language, right? So maybe I have put some examples here for you. Okay? And there is a whole module in Python called RE, regular expression. Okay? So, so regular expression, there are many times where programmer wants to split or search in the body of the text. So regular expression are used for that reason. Okay? It's an own its own language. Okay, it's an own language. Okay, and it's basically the same no matter what programming language. So if you use it in Unix, and you use it, in Unix programming, I mean shell programming is the same thing. In Python, it's own language, right? Regular expression. So in Python 3, the module is RE. RE. Let's break. It's 7:15. Let's have a break. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about regular expression. So example, the quick cheat sheet for various rules in regular expression. So for example, if you put /d, it means any number. /capital D, anything but a number. /s, I'm here. /s, okay. Space. /capital S, anything but a space. /w, any letter. Capital W, anything but a letter. The period, any character except for a new line. /b, space, and so on and so forth. All right. So caret matches start of the string. $sign matches end of the string. There's different options. So you have to learn them. Once you know them and learn them, you could use them in your application. So for example, in here, look at this example. Okay. So import the RE regular expression. Okay, and then we have example string. What we have in example string in here, read it. Jessica is 15 years old, and Daniel is 27 years old. Edward is 97 years old, and his grandfather, Oscar, is 102. Okay? So I need to collect the ages in a one variable, and I would like to collect the names in a different variable. Okay, that's what I'm trying to do in here. So what we do, regular expression, find all, and R means regular expression. /D, what does it mean /D? Number. So, how many numbers I'm looking for? Between 1 and 3 digits. Alright? And then, and what I'm applying it in the example string, which is R. The names, what does the name says in here? Okay, anything you start with what? Capital. And followed by small. And the asterisk means any number. Okay, any number. So if you look at the execution there, okay, I printed ages. So it gave you 15, 27, 98, 102. Then I printed names, gave you the 4 names. So regular expression is so powerful that you can do anything with it. Anything with it. Okay? Another example where you use it, for example, any system has log files. Let's say that you have an Oracle server, Windows server, web server, there's a log file. Log files, like how many lines there are? Tens of thousands of lines, right? Over a year, right? Log, right? So when you need, for example, to search for a certain thing, there, it's like looking for a needle in a hair, right? In hair, right? So what you have to do, write a regular expression, and you can dig the information. So knowing the regular expression is very important for any programmer. For any programmer, right? It's a language that it's common everywhere. You use it the same way. If you know the basics of it, is enough for now. But let's say that your job is this: to search for data from, big text files and all of that. Then you have to know it very well. All right? So this is a good example. I think I put the code for you in here, so always you could execute it. Alright, so that's the code in here that I was showing. So we have a sentence in here, and I'm looking for the ages and the names. So we wrote the expressions as you see it in here. Okay. And if we run it, let's try to run it. Alright, so let me close this. Okay, let me run it again. Alright, as you see, to create like the ages and So in here, let me go in the code. Let me go in the code in here. For example, let me change one of the names for Jessica, for example, and make it with a small j. Okay, what will happen? It will not get picked, right? So run module, first will have to be saved. Jessica is gone. Here, okay? So it's a very important tool that you need to learn how to use, really. I mean, it's like really very important. Where am I? Supposed to be here, right? Okay. Anyways, I wrote a few applications for you, take a look at them, how to parse a website, just run them, and spend some time on that, okay? What else I put in here? Web servers. You know, Python comes with a web server. You could use it for experimental. I don't advise it, just use Apache. That's the best thing. You know, for experimental, it comes with a server you could create. All right. I added some information about CGI, Common Gate Interface, and WCGI for you. Okay, how to run programs. So you know what is a CGI, right? To run a program remotely, right? And the results will come to where? To the client, right? To the client. That's a CGI, Common Gate Interface. So for that, you need to install Apache. I gave you instructions how to install Apache in here. Okay, so in here, the web server, the Apache. Okay, you have to install it. Once you install it, you have to start it, right? CMD. Let me remember where I installed it. On my computer. Yeah, Apache 24. So I gave you the link and instruction, exact instruction how to do it. dir. So I started the server now. Okay. Okay, let me go on here. I'm sure you can see. Yes, you can see. So I put it in here, the binaries in here, Apache 24. Just I would like to tell you that the most important thing is you have to configure the what is it? You go to conf and there is httpd.conf. Okay, your Apache server will not run without configuring this file. So make sure you configure it. I gave you in the hands down how to configure it. So if I edit this, so part of it you have to put the path, the server root, the path, few parameters you have to configure it right to be able to run. Anyways, the readme file will tell you the information. I added all the information for you. Anyways, my server now is working myself. How can I know if it's working? If I go, for example, in here, okay, if I type local host, it works. So my web server, it works. Where you host, where you're gonna host your files, usually you host your files in a directory called htdoc, I think in here. Alright, in this place, you're gonna host it in here, okay? All the files, okay? Just you have to learn how to use it, okay? And I added like applications in here for you. Okay, just a second. So, in here, for example, this is a Python application. Let's take this application. Alright. Copy. And let me add it here. Oh, there is one in here. Hello. Okay, let's edit this first. Edit. New file. Control V. Is that what I want? Let's say that's what I want, right? And let me say save as, and let me go to C. Okay. And where we keep the documents in here. Let's call it, what we're gonna call it, A123. Okay. Save. So this is a simple Python program. Okay. This is the HTML. You know, the HTML has tags, HTML and the body tag. So the header, for example, it will print well, it works, and then we rotate 5 times, and hello Python class 5 times. So this is the HTML code, is plugged into the Python code. All right. So how can we run it from the browser? I added it to the server. All right. And what did they call it? A123. So if I go in here, okay, slash A123 dot Python, I think. All right. So it runs from the browser, right? Okay. So you could write a Python code. All right. Python code, and you put it in the server, and it will be executed remotely over the web. Okay, you could create a form, for example. You could create whatever. Anyways, I put a few examples, more examples for you to try them out. I'm not going to try them out now. Okay, so simple CGI example. So in here, for example, let's try this code for you. Control A, Control copy. And let's go, where to go here? Let's Control A, Control V. Right, and let's save it, file, save, and keep the same name, 1, 2, or 3. Okay. So in here, this is a code that will run remotely also. So enter your name, for example, whatever my name, Shakur. Okay, Shakur. And how many friends do you have? I have hundreds of friends. Submit. There's a in the code. I'm not sure what's the problem in the code. Anyways, so that's the idea of CGI, that you'll be able to run a code, Python code, over the web from remote. I added a few examples for you, okay, that you could try them out. You could try them out. Let me see what I have else in this. What's in here? Anyways, so try the examples out. Okay, there's many examples in here ready for you. Anyways, what we tried to cover this week and last week about networking. Okay, so sockets and client-server applications. The largest application for a client-server application is the web servers, right? And then the CGI. Next week, that's what I need to finish the last few minutes. Next week, we're going to talk about one of the frameworks. Let me close all of this. Let me close this too. Okay. Let me close this. Don't save. Here. All right. So Django is a framework. It's a massive framework. All right, and there is different frameworks for Python to develop for page development, website development. Right. One of them is Django. So Django is a framework that tells you how to do things its own way. Okay, so you have little bit. So for example, it will create the application in a different way. So there's applications. Okay. So for example, you could create so you could have a project, right? Project. Okay. And the project could have different applications inside it. For example, it has personal. It could have a blog. It could have XYZ application. Okay. So what is this? Application. What is this? Application. What is this? Application. And what is this? Project. Right? So it will tell you exactly how you create the application, what you have to blog the information about the application, how you can add the URLs, specific way. Right? Okay? And this is part of the project. This is project 1, let's say. So let's say that you're going to have project 2, different project. All right? So you could borrow this application and it becomes part of project 2 also. So application could be part of one or more projects. And the project could have one or more applications, yes. All right? Right? One more applications. So it's very well designed. Just you have to learn how to use it, how to create it, and a lot of learning. So myself next week, what I will do, I was planning to create PowerPoint a presentation for that, but I found the tutorial provided. So you need to go to the docs of DjangoProject.com, the official website. Okay, and there's tutorials. So you start with the tutorial, okay, part 1. You go through it, you'll learn a lot, okay, and when you finish, you go to part 2. All right, you go through part 2, okay, and then you go to part 3 and 4 and 5. All right, so a lot of information, a lot of things you could do. It requires you to know a little bit about HTML. You need to know a little bit about JavaScript. All of these things are very nice tutorial. So next week, what I want from you, if possible, bring your laptops with you. Okay, we could go through it together. Okay, together. As much as we can. As much as we can. All right. For your exam, at least the first parts that needed to be covered. The first 3 parts of the tutorial, you need to cover it. But if you need to use, remember for your project, for your term project, you could use GUI for the canvas, or you could use Django. All right, Django, whatever you like, okay? If you are interested to learn web development, maybe it's a good chance to learn Django, okay? If you want to use the GUI, you could use the GUI application. No issue with me. You could use either one of them. All right? In either, there's a lot of learning curve. For the Ivy, for the library, the Ivy, I think Shashank provided you with a link. Okay, for a book, it's just like 200 pages, I think, or less than that. So, I mean, if you go through it, I mean, that's my recommendation for you. Spend like a weekend, go through it with the examples. Then you have all the background you need to develop using that library or module. Okay? And then use it for your application. When you do your project, don't go crazy. Don't go crazy. Okay? Start small. Okay, divide your project into modules and into parts. Start with the first part. Was the first part, and usually we start with the simplest part. All right, it works. We move to the next part, third part, as much as we can, as much as you can. The idea here that you're trying to learn, right? Learn from the whole thing. Any questions for me? All right, thank you so much.